He signed a marriage contract knowing his son might die within days, and the woman he was forced to marry had not spoken a single word in over a year. The doctors said her legs would never move again, and the lawyers said asking questions would cost him everything. What no one told him was that this deal would drag him into a powerful family's darkest secret and push him to choose between silence and truth. One kiss would shatter 14 months of paralysis. One testimony would destroy a dynasty, and one sick child would become the reason 2 broken lives refused to give up. Ethan Miller had welded steel under rain, snow, and blistering heat, but nothing in his life had ever felt heavier than the pen in his hand that morning. The lawyer's office in downtown Portland smelled like polished wood and quiet money. Everything inside it felt expensive and distant, like a world that had never worried about rent notices or hospital bills. Ethan sat stiffly in the leather chair, his work boots leaving faint dust marks on the marble floor. Across from him, a contract lay open. Simple, clean, terrifying. Marry Lydia Grant. Care for her. Ask no questions. That was it. Outside the office, his 7-year-old son Noah was lying on a narrow hospital bed, a plastic mask strapped to his small face as oxygen hissed softly into lungs that had never been strong enough. The doctors had stopped sugarcoating things weeks ago. Without surgery, Noah's heart would fail. Not eventually. Soon. The surgery cost more than Ethan could make in 10 years of welding. Some choices weren't really choices at all. Ethan signed. The ink bled slightly where his hand shook, and with that uneven signature, his life bent in a direction he could never have imagined. 2 hours later, Ethan drove his battered pickup through the iron gates of Grantwood Estate. Noah sat in the passenger seat, wrapped in a hoodie that was too big for him, his oxygen tank secured between his feet. His cheeks were pale, but his eyes were bright with the stubborn curiosity that kept Ethan going on the worst days. "Is this where we're living now, Dad?" Noah asked softly. Ethan swallowed. "For a little while, buddy." Grantwood Estate rose ahead of them like a stone fortress. Tall hedges trimmed into unnatural perfection lined the driveway. Marble fountains stood frozen and silent, as if even water wasn't allowed to move freely here. This wasn't just wealth, this was generational power, the kind that didn't need to explain itself. At the front steps waited a woman in a gray suit with sharp eyes and a posture that suggested nothing ever surprised her. "Mr. Miller," she said, "I'm Elaine Brooks, estate manager. We've been expecting you." Elaine's gaze flicked briefly to Noah. Something almost human crossed her face before the mask snapped back into place. "The child's room has been prepared on the second floor," she continued. "Medical equipment has already been installed." "He stays with me," Ethan said immediately. "That wasn't the arrangement." "Then there is no arrangement." Ethan's voice was calm, but there was steel in it. Years of being a single father had taught him exactly which lines not to cross. This was one of them. Elaine studied him for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. "Very well. We'll prepare the adjoining room." Inside, the house felt even larger. Their footsteps echoed on marble floors as they passed oil paintings of stern men and women who looked down on Ethan like he was dirt tracked in from outside. Noah's breathing grew heavier under their stares, and Ethan lifted him without slowing, ignoring the ache in his arms. "Mrs. Grant is in the conservatory," Elaine said. "I should warn you, she does not speak. She hasn't since the accident 14 months ago. Doctors say there's no physical reason." "What happened to her?" Ethan asked. "That is not my story to tell." The conservatory doors opened onto a jungle trapped behind glass. Tropical plants crowded the space, green and alive against the gray autumn sky outside. And at the center of it all sat Lydia Grant. The photos Ethan had seen didn't prepare him. Those showed a confident woman in designer dresses, smiling at charity galas. The person before him looked like someone the world had quietly forgotten. Her dark hair hung limp around a pale face too thin for her frame. She sat motionless in a sleek wheelchair, eyes fixed on nothing. Ethan hesitated at the doorway. "Dad," Noah whispered, "is she sleeping?" Lydia's eyes shifted, not to Ethan, to Noah. For just a second, something moved across her face. Not interest, not warmth. Something sharper, pain mixed with recognition. "She's awake, bud," Ethan said gently. He stepped forward. "Ms. Grant, I'm Ethan Miller. This is my son, Noah. I know this isn't what you wanted." Noah leaned forward, already distracted by a bright orchid near her chair. "Those flowers look cool. Do they smell nice?" Lydia's lips parted slightly. For a heartbeat, Ethan thought she might speak. She didn't, but she watched Noah with an intensity that made Ethan's chest tighten. That was the look of someone who remembered hope and hated how much it hurt. That night, Ethan lay awake in the largest bedroom he had ever seen, listening to Noah breathe through the wall. Grantwood Estate creaked and whispered around them, a house far too big for the people trapped inside it. The first week passed in rigid routines, medication schedules, physical therapy exercises, meals at exact times. Lydia never spoke. She barely acknowledged Ethan beyond what was strictly necessary, but she noticed Noah. When her younger brother Ryan visited, all hollow smiles and restless energy, Lydia's jaw tightened. When Noah sat nearby, rambling about trucks and clouds, her shoulders softened just a little. One morning during therapy, Noah built a tower of foam blocks beside them. "Look, Dad, taller than yesterday." The tower fell. Noah laughed, then suddenly started coughing. Hard, violently. Ethan dropped everything and pulled him close. "Breathe, buddy. Slow. That's it." The coughing passed, leaving Noah limp and exhausted. Ethan kissed his hair, blinking hard. When he looked up, Lydia was staring at them. Really staring. Her eyes were raw, stripped of the emptiness she wore like armor. In them, Ethan saw the reflection of his own fear, the terror of loving someone whose body might betray them at any moment. Something passed between them without words. The next morning before dawn, Ethan found Lydia already in the conservatory, staring at a dying plant curled in on itself. "My wife loved plants," he said quietly, surprising himself. "After she died, I forgot to water them. Let them die because it hurt too much to remember." Lydia looked at him. "Then Noah started watering them himself," Ethan continued. "Messy, uneven, but alive. That's when I realized I had to choose. Grieve what I lost or protect what I still had." He handed Lydia her medication. "I'm not here to fix you," he said, "but I see you." Her hand trembled as she took the pills. That afternoon, Lydia typed her first full sentence into her phone. She wanted access to the plant records. She used to study botany, before the accident, before the silence. Together, they began saving the dying plants. Lydia pointed. Ethan listened. Noah named them. One night, Ethan found Lydia crying openly in the conservatory. Not silent tears, real sobs. "Someone hurt you," he said softly. "More than the accident." She nodded. "My brother was drunk," she typed later through shaking fingers. "My family paid to hide it. I'm the evidence they want buried." Ethan felt something cold settle in his chest. The night before Noah's surgery, the fear became unbearable. Ethan couldn't sleep. Neither could Lydia. At 3 in the morning, she spoke. "I'm scared," she whispered, her voice raw and unused. Ethan dropped to his knees beside her wheelchair, and without thinking, without planning, he kissed her. Not gently, desperately, like two people drowning and grabbing the same piece of air. Lydia gasped, her hands clenched in his shirt. Then her foot moved, just a little, but it moved. They stared at her legs in shock. "I can feel," she whispered. Doctors would later explain it with long words about trauma and neural pathways. But in that moment, all Ethan knew was that something impossible had just happened. 6 hours later, Ethan sat in a hospital waiting room as surgeons worked on Noah's heart. Lydia sat beside him, gripping his hand with white knuckles. "He's going to be okay," she said softly. The surgery lasted 11 hours. When the doctor finally came out smiling, Ethan broke. Noah survived. Lydia testified months later. She stood in court. Ryan fell. The family's power cracked. Spring came. One evening in a small garden far from Grantwood Estate, Noah caught fireflies in a jar. "I wish we stay together forever," he said. Ethan looked at Lydia. She smiled. "Yes," she said, "forever." "Do you believe that love can truly heal what pain has broken, yes or no?" The doctors called it a neurological breakthrough, wrapped in careful language and cautious optimism. But to Ethan, it felt like witnessing a miracle crack open in real time. Lydia did not stand up that night, not fully. She did not walk or take steps or rise dramatically from the wheelchair the way movies promised. What she did was smaller and somehow more terrifying. Her toes curled, her ankle flexed, her leg responded to her will after 14 months of silence from her own body. That was enough to change everything. By morning, the conservatory was filled with specialists. Neurologists spoke of trauma-induced paralysis, of the brain protecting itself by shutting down what it could not process. They spoke of therapy and time and uncertainty. They spoke carefully, afraid to promise too much. Lydia listened. For the first time, she answered out loud. "I will do whatever it takes," she said. Her voice was hoarse but steady. Each word sounded like a decision. Ethan stood back, holding Noah's jacket in his hands, watching the woman he had married on paper begin to reclaim herself in reality. There was awe in his chest, but also fear. Change was dangerous. Hope was dangerous. He had learned that lesson too many times. The legal storm hit before the emotional one could settle. Within 48 hours, Lydia's father arrived at Grantwood Estate with 2 attorneys and a look that suggested disappointment rather than concern. Ryan did not come. That absence spoke louder than his presence ever had. "This situation is being exaggerated," her father said calmly, seated in the formal living room as if discussing market fluctuations. "We can settle this quietly. Restore your accounts. Adjust the trust. We can make you comfortable again. Lydia sat across from him, hands folded tightly in her lap. I was never comfortable, she said. Her mother cried. Her father sighed. Ryan's name was never spoken out loud. That night, Lydia typed for hours, rereading old documents, medical records, insurance forms. Elaine Brooks appeared at the door long after midnight and wordlessly placed a folder on the table. Inside were copies of reports that had vanished, statements that had been altered, payments disguised as donations. Elaine did not say a word. She only nodded once before leaving. The next morning, Lydia asked Ethan to find her a lawyer, not the family's, someone who had nothing to lose. They found Daniel Price 3 counties away. He arrived in a wrinkled suit and listened without interrupting, his expression tightening as Lydia spoke. When she finished, the room was silent. They will come after you, Daniel said. Your credibility, your mental health, your finances. They will paint you as unstable. Lydia nodded. They already did. Daniel agreed to take the case. The headlines followed quickly. Wealthy family accused of cover-up, air brakes. Silence after months of seclusion. The house felt smaller with every article. Security increased. Ryan's lawyer called daily. The pressure became constant, heavy, suffocating. At the same time, Lydia began physical therapy. The sessions were brutal, painful, humbling. Every inch gained felt earned through exhaustion and tears. Ethan was there for all of it. He spotted her when her legs shook. He caught her when she fell. He never pushed her harder than she asked. Noah watched everything. He watched Lydia struggle to lift her foot an inch off the ground and clap like she had run a marathon. He watched Ethan refuse calls from Ryan's attorney even when money was mentioned. He watched adults choose truth over comfort in ways he would not fully understand until much later. The surgery date for Noah loomed closer. Ethan tried to stay steady, but the fear crept in during quiet moments. Late nights, early mornings. He had made promises to Noah he did not know how to keep. Promises to stay, promises to protect. One night, Noah asked the question Ethan had been avoiding. What happens if I don't wake up? Noah said casually, coloring at the kitchen table. Ethan froze. I mean, Noah continued, not looking up. You'll stay with Lydia, right? She needs you, like I do. The words knocked the air from Ethan's lungs. You're going to wake up, he said carefully. But if I don't, Noah insisted. Ethan looked at his son, at the 2 thin arms, the quiet bravery. The acceptance children should never have to learn. I promise I won't leave her alone, Ethan said. Noah smiled, satisfied. Okay. The night before the surgery, Lydia asked to be taken outside. Not into the conservatory, outside. Ethan bundled her in blankets and pushed her wheelchair into the cold. The garden lay bare, stripped by winter. Dead plants, frozen soil, everything waiting. Do things come back after they die? Lydia asked softly. Some do, Ethan said. Not the same, but they come back. She reached for his hand. I'm scared. So am I. At the hospital, the hours crawled. Lydia sat beside Ethan through the entire surgery, whispering stories about plants, about how roots remembered the shape of sunlight even after long winters. Ethan listened, gripping her hand like a lifeline. When the surgeon finally emerged smiling, Ethan collapsed into the nearest chair, shaking. Noah would live. They cried together in the hallway, quietly, honestly. The trial followed months later. Lydia walked into the courtroom using a cane, her movements deliberate but strong. Her voice did not shake when she testified. Ryan stared straight ahead, jaw tight, eyes empty. Elaine testified. Daniel presented evidence that could not be ignored. The verdict was not perfect. Ryan avoided prison, money softened consequences, but his license was revoked. His name was stained. The truth stood on record. Lydia declined her restored inheritance. I need to know who I am without it, she said. Spring returned. Ethan and Noah moved into a small apartment nearby. Lydia bought a modest house with a yard she planned to rebuild with her own hands. They saw each other every day at first, then naturally, easily, like people who had become essential. One evening, Lydia invited them over for dinner. She cooked slowly, carefully, laughing at herself when she dropped a spoon. Noah chased fireflies in the yard. Do you think families have to be born? He asked suddenly. Ethan looked at Lydia. No, Lydia said. Sometimes they grow. Noah nodded. Good. As the sun set, Ethan realized something quietly terrifying. This was no longer a contract. This was a choice. Do you think choosing truth and love is worth the risk of losing everything else? Yes or no? The first morning Ethan woke up in the small apartment felt unreal. Sunlight spilled through thin curtains instead of stained glass. The kitchen smelled like toast instead of polished stone. Noah was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor, building something out of plastic blocks and humming softly to himself. His breathing was even, easy. For the first time in years, Ethan noticed it without fear, tightening his chest. Lydia arrived just after 9. She stood at the door without knocking, a paper bag tucked under her arm, a cane in her hand. She hesitated for half a second, as if unsure whether she still belonged here. Ethan opened the door. "Hey," he said. "Hey," she answered. That was all it took. Noah looked up, his face breaking into a grin. "You're early." "I couldn't sleep," Lydia admitted. "Physical therapy starts later. I thought I'd make pancakes." She said it casually, but Ethan heard the weight behind it. Pancakes were ordinary, domestic, something people did when they planned to stay. They crowded into the tiny kitchen. Lydia moved carefully, but confidently. She flipped pancakes with one hand, laughing when the first one landed crooked. Ethan poured coffee. Noah set the table with mismatched plates. It felt normal. That scared Ethan more than any courtroom or operating room ever had. Over the next weeks, routines formed. Lydia attended therapy every morning, pushing herself harder than her doctors expected. Some days she came home exhausted and angry, slamming her cane down and crying in frustration. Ethan never tried to fix it. He just sat with her. Noah would bring her water or sit on the floor and tell her stories that went nowhere, but made her smile. Healing was not dramatic anymore. It was slow, messy, real. The garden at Lydia's house began to take shape. Raised beds, fresh soil, seedlings lined up in careful rows. Ethan built the frames by hand. Noah labeled each plant with crooked marker signs. Lydia supervised, correcting spacing and light with the precision of someone who had found her purpose again. "I'm enrolling in classes," she said one afternoon, wiping dirt from her hands. "Botany, rehabilitation gardens. I want to build spaces for people like me, places that help bodies and minds remember how to move forward." Ethan nodded. "You'll be great." She watched him for a long moment. "You never say things like that unless you mean them." "I know." The past did not disappear. Some days Lydia's legs failed her. Some nights Noah woke up gasping from nightmares about hospitals. There were follow-up appointments, legal paperwork, scar tissue that still hurt, but the fear no longer ruled everything. One evening, Ryan's name appeared on Ethan's phone. He did not answer. Lydia saw the screen. "You don't have to protect me anymore," she said softly. "I'm not," Ethan replied. "I'm protecting us." She smiled at that. Months passed. Lydia walked without the cane most days. She fell sometimes. She always got back up. Noah started school again, running across the playground without stopping to catch his breath. His laughter carried farther now, freer. One night after Noah had fallen asleep on the couch with a science book open on his chest, Lydia turned to Ethan. "The contract expired a long time ago," she said. "I know. You don't owe me anything." "I know." Silence stretched between them, heavy but not uncomfortable. "I'm not asking you to stay because I need you," Lydia continued. "I'm asking because I want you here." Ethan thought of the man he had been when he signed that contract. Exhausted, terrified, alone. He thought of the man he was now. Still afraid sometimes, still tired, but no longer alone. "I choose this," he said. The wedding was small, no lawyers, no reporters, no family from Grantwood Estate, just a backyard, folding chairs, and wildflowers. Noah picked himself. Elaine Brooks attended, standing quietly in the back. When Lydia hugged her afterward, Elaine cried without apology. Ethan's vows were simple. Lydia's voice did not waver when she spoke hers. Noah held the rings. "I always knew this would happen," he whispered proudly. Life settled into something steady. Lydia opened her first rehabilitation garden a year later. Ethan helped build every path. Noah helped plant every tree. People came, veterans, accident survivors, children learning to walk again. Lydia walked among them, sometimes with a cane, sometimes without, always with purpose. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Noah ran up holding a jar of fireflies. "I counted them," he said seriously. "There are 12. "That's a lot of wishes," Ethan said. Noah considered. "I only need one." Lydia knelt beside him, carefully, gracefully. "What would you wish for?" "That we keep choosing each other," Noah said, "even when it's hard." Ethan felt his throat tighten. "That's a good wish," Lydia said. They released the fireflies together, watching the light scatter into the dark. Some things you lose forever. Others come back different, stronger. Not because pain disappears, but because love teaches you how to carry it. Ethan knew now that the heaviest things in life were not burdens. They were people. And when you chose to carry them, when you chose to stay, you discovered a strength you never knew you had. They went inside, the house warm and alive behind them. Home. How did this story make you feel? And what do you think about the choices these characters made? If you enjoyed this story, please leave a comment below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell next to the subscribe button so you never miss a new story. Let us know what country you are watching from, and don't forget to share this story with someone who might need it today.